Welcome to the Smart Money Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Arese. I'm the founder of smartmoneyafrica.org, a financial education platform tailored to the African Millennial woman. But I'm probably best known as the author of two best-selling personal finance books, The Smart Money Woman and The Smart Money Tribe. I love having money conversations that encourage African women to think bigger and become the chief financial officers of their own personal economies. This podcast is a weekly show that will focus on powerful conversations, stories, and practical lessons that teach African millennial women how to make money, keep money, and grow money. Hi, potties! I hope everyone's having a great week. I'm super excited for my next guest because she's my bestie, Mariah Lucciano Gabriel. So we've been best friends since we were 10. And she's the head of commercial and business development at Sahara Energy. So Mariah started off her career in the business development unit of Arese Energy, the upstream arm of Sahara, overseeing government and JV relations. While the company was expanding rapidly across sub-Saharan Africa, she joined the commercial department as her capabilities in petroleum economics, asset valuation, and risk management were essential for the growth trajectory of the company. With over 12 years' experience in the upstream oil and gas industry, she now heads the commercial and business development unit, where she leads negotiations in companies' asset acquisitions, crude handling agreements, and production entitlement reconciliations. That's my best friend. So if you've read the books, The Smart Money Woman or The Smart Money Tribe, then you'll be familiar with the character Lara, who is an oil and gas big babe. Now, people who are familiar with Mariah and I's relationship often ask me if Lara's character is based on Mariah. The answer is no. Lara is not based on Mariah, but I will say this. Mariah was very instrumental in helping me build Lara's character because she helped me with all the technical aspects of the oil and gas industry and basically being able to develop authentic stories that were realistic to this part of the world. So yeah, you can thank her for that. She's been a huge part of my journey. She's one of the original members of my tribe. And more importantly, she's one of the best examples of an African woman who's using intrapreneurship to build wealth for herself. I feel like she shares so many different practical strategies in terms of building her career and her investment philosophy. And hopefully you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. Hi, Mariah. Welcome to the Smart Money Tribe podcast.
Hi, Arese. So good to be here.
Guys, this is super weird, but super fun at the same time because Mariah is an original member of my tribe. And we've been besties since we were like 10 years old.
I was 9, Arese. You're older than me.
Whatever. When we were younger, it was always, oh, you're not older than me. Now, all of a sudden, you are acknowledging that I'm older than you, but whatever. Anyway, Mariah and I met when we were in high school. We went to Igbinedian Education Center. And I think our relationship basically started when my cousin had a crush on her and basically sent me to go and toast her for him.
Oh, gosh.
In like GS1. Yeah, and this has been like a 20 years plus friendship.
What, 23 years?
But yeah, we've been in each other's lives for a really long time and we've been able to support each other on our journeys. And I really just wanted to share that, especially because you're one of the best examples of an intrapreneur that I know. And
Thank you.
People are always, talking about how, to become wealthy, you have to be an entrepreneur. And I just wanted to showcase an intrapreneur who is doing amazing things, but building wealth as well. So you work in oil and gas. Do you want to share how you started to build your career in oil and gas? How did you decide that oil and gas was what you wanted to do?
Okay. I wish I could say that I actually decided that oil and gas was what I wanted to do. But no, I kind of just stumbled upon it. So first of all, I work with Sahara Upstream, Ashrami Energy. I head the business development and commercial department for the upstream. And it was my first job straight out of NYSC. I always felt that I was going to have a career in investment banking. I had this grand plan, after uni in London, I was going to work in London for a while, make it to the top of my investment banking career, then come back to Nigeria and get one of those nice, cushy positions, So, I had this plan, and I had heard about how, sometimes you come back to Nigeria when you're older, and there's some positions that you can't get or some things you can't do without having NYSC, and then you now basically be a 40-year-old copper. So I just figured, I'm done with school now. I wanted to take a year out anyway. So I figured I would take that.
1 second, Maria. For my non-Nigerian listeners, NYSC is a program that you have to do before you join the job market. So you basically work for the government for a year and get paid in measly salary. But yeah, it's compulsory.
Stipend.
Yeah. So it's compulsory. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, so I took a year out after uni, came back to Nigeria to start my NYSC. I had lined up a job at an investment banking house, Vertiva. So I was going to do my youth service there. Somehow, the person in charge of the posting at NYSC screwed it up. I don't know how. They ended up posting me to Diamond Bank. And I came there, I'm like, I have a job already at Vertiva. Can you please correct this? And they're like, oh, well, just go to Diamond Bank, get a rejection letter, and then come back and we'll correct it. So I thought, well, that's easy enough. So I passed to Diamond Bank. Oh, hi, I got posted here wrongly, and I'd just like to, get a rejection letter so I can have it corrected. I'm like, oh, okay, no problem, sit down. We'll attend to you shortly. And they came back with a letter. I was like, oh, thank you. That was easy enough. So I'm walking out and I opened the letter. It's welcome to Diamond Bank.
Obviously looked at your CV and they were like, look at this one. With all this talent, we're keeping you. You're going nowhere, honey.
Like my shock. So I turned back. I'm like, sorry, I don't think you understood me. I wanted a rejection. And they're like, well, you were posted here and we don't want to reject you. So what we will do for you is we will send you to like one of the most coveted departments, which was the oil and gas desk at the bank. And basically I had to live with that. So I started work at the oil and gas desk in Diamond Bank. So that was when that was my first exposure to oil and gas in Nigeria. Prior to that, I had very little knowledge about the industry. So we had, oil and gas companies as our customers. We had meetings with various oil and gas companies. And one day we had a meeting in Sahara. I remember walking into the office and I said, it was different from any oil and gas company I had walked into before. Like the ambience, the down to the decor, the way the colors were, the people, they look like they had...
was giving Google vibes for the oil and gas.
I kid you not. And now it's kind of common now. Well, not common, but a lot of other companies are giving that same kind of vibe. But back then, it wasn't like that. It was completely different because this was 12, 13 years ago. So I was like, this company is so different from all the other oil and gas companies that I've been to. All the people that I saw walking past me, they were all young people. I probably saw two middle-aged people throughout our meeting. And the person that was heading the meeting from the Sahara end was a young woman. She was the head of supply chain at the time. And she looked fabulous. You could tell she knew what she was talking about. She was just, I was in awe. I was like, this could be me. Looking fabulous, killing it at my job.
It's true because
I
at
was,
Diamond Bank they used to force you to wear uniforms, right? At that point, I remember these
I
stories.
said, "Habba, it was not uniform."
So, Maria,
But yes, they used to make us wear like certain colors. You couldn't wear some colors. You couldn't wear. I remember wearing it was a pantsuit, but the pants were not like all the way to the ground. They were like a culottes sort of. And I said it was a suit with jacket and I got there. And
stylish.
they asked me what I was wearing and told me to go home to change. I was in shock. So when I was leaving Sahara that day, I turned to my manager and I said to her, after NYC, I'm coming to work here. People should be there telling me to wear blue, black, and grey. Look at the person that we came for meeting with. This is not a Ankara jacket she was wearing. I mean, she laughed it off and thought it was a joke. But I was actually serious. And I started researching the company, what they do. Of course, like I told everybody that cared to listen about my experience with the company. And about a month later or so, my sister calls me and is like, oh, that company that you said you wanted to work with, they're actually hiring interns. So you might want to check it out, which I did. And it's the best decision that I've made. That internship program was intense. You could tell like that the company they wanted to invest in their staff. They wanted to invest in their human resources. Yes, it was grueling, but it was
I remember you feeling like you were working for a slave. I remember it being really hard. Like you were working long days, long nights, like it was intense. I don't know. You sound like you're glamorizing that part of your life.
I know, but you know how they say that, hindsight is 2020 years. So, I mean, at the time, I thought these people just wanted to kill me. Like, but now, the things that I know about the oil and gas industry, a lot of people that work in oil and gas, maybe, they work in the downstream or they work in the midstream, and that is what they know. But with that internship program, I was able to learn about the entire value chain because at the time, Sahara was one of the only indigenous companies that cuts across the entire value chain in the oil and gas industry. So, from downstream to midstream to the upstream to power, and with the internship program, we learned about each and every one of them. So it gave you a very good all-round knowledge of the industry. And I got to see how central it was to Nigeria's development. And I just knew that I had to be part of this industry. At this time, my investment banking dreams were out the window. And, I've been with Sahara ever since then. And will be for the foreseeable future.
That sounds amazing. I know that you've had a really awesome career because I've been there to witness it. But I also know that there've been a lot of challenges. So can you share some of the biggest challenges with building a career in, the oil and gas industry in Africa?
What I would say the biggest challenge was, is the disparity between Sahara's culture and the industry at large. In Sahara, there's no discrimination, there's no age discrimination, there's no gender discrimination, there's no, oh, you're too young to do this. Why would you be in that position? It's as simple as if you're able to get the job done, you will get the position. So you are basically your only impediment. You can go as high as you want to go, as high as you're willing to work towards. So if you're showing interest, you're displaying the right potential, they would give you opportunities are abound. They would give you the opportunity, but then it felt like the industry wasn't ready for that. Like I had said before, when I was in Diamond Bank, when you go to oil and gas companies, it's mostly middle-aged men that are on the other end of things.
Yeah.
So I'm coming from Sahara, maybe heading the department or, leading the delegation, and the people on the other end of the table are older men who kind of look at you and think, what do you have to say? What could you possibly have to say?
Small girl makes sense to come and talk about this big transaction. Yeah.
Do you understand? So you spend a lot of valuable time, first of all, trying to make them see you as, quote unquote, as an equal, and it just, first of all, it used to rub me off the wrong way. It's I just had to, it is what it is, right? So you just have to get with the program and just
and just deal with. It's quite interesting that you say that that was one of your biggest challenges because, you know, as women in Africa, you find that even if things are changing and there are more women in the workforce, they tend to be at lower levels. And as you go up, when you get to like the C-suite, there are less and less women. So women sort of drop off either to go and have babies, either because, you know, it's too stressful and they're finding it difficult to balance, you know, their careers with their home life. So how would you say that you are able to sort of negotiate like your promotions and basically stay on that ladder? Because you've obviously gone from, you know, being an intern to being, is it a VP now?
No, a GM.
A GM. So you've gone from being an intern to being a GM, like, you know, through the course of your career. So how are you able to sort of like negotiate promotions and increase your compensation?
Okay. So first of all, I will go into, you know, having, you know, less women up at the C-suite. Now, you find that, well, for me, what worked for me was, so I started my career quite early. When I started my career, I was still single. And then after I got married, I still had a couple of years, you know, before I had a child and all of that. And I basically used that time to put in the work, you know. So I worked hard. I made no excuses. I basically I went over and beyond, over and above. I spent that time more or less proving myself.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where they knew what I could deliver. They knew my value. And because of that, I was given certain flexibilities, you know. And so when I did have a child and it's like, oh, you know, I can't come into the office at this time. I need to do XYZ and I will come in later. There was no issue about it because they knew that I wasn't trying to, you know, pawn off my work or I wasn't going to not do the work.
Basically, you focused on being so valuable to your company that you earned the privilege of flexibility.
Exactly.
So the option becomes, do we want to lose Maria as a valuable member of our staff, or do we want to make allowances for the fact that she's now a mother, she's now a wife, and that kind of thing? Is that correct to say?
Yes, that is very correct to say. So that is basically what it was. And also in them giving me that flexibility, I did not take advantage of that flexibility at the same time because, you know, you could easily get carried away with it and think, oh yeah, you know, I could come in at whatever time, or, well, I still get, so even if you're not seeing me in the office. So, I mean, now, you know, with COVID, people are working from home and it's become the norm. But then obviously it was more or less, you have to be in the office at this time, work starts at 7:30, close at this time, you know. But I wasn't necessarily following that, and my bosses understood. I didn't drop the ball just because you're not seeing my face. So the work was still being delivered at the time it was supposed to be delivered. And so I got the necessary flexibility I needed to also still be there for my family.
So as we're having this conversation, I remember something that happened a few years ago. And it speaks to being able to articulate your value so that you can negotiate, you know, your compensation and your promotion. I remember a time when we were having a conversation about how you wanted to talk to your boss about getting a promotion. And even if you knew that you were this, you know, valuable person and, you know, you did your work and they valued you, you still struggled a little bit with articulating the value.
Yes.
So, small expo, you guys. Me, in our friendship, I'm the confrontational one. And Maria is a little bit like, I don't want to fight. I don't want to.
You're being kind, not a little bit. Like I am very much like that.
So I remember us having this conversation, and oh my God, this is so funny, guys. I said to Maria, have you heard of this book called Lean In?
I said, you're going to put my business out there like this?
I am actually. And I was like, have you heard of this book called Lean In? I think you should read it. It will help you with, going to the table to articulate. And you're like, huh? What is Lean In? So we call our other best friend Nana. And I'm like, Nana, have you heard of this book called Lean In? And she was like, huh? I was like, by Sheryl Sandberg. This is like a book that has changed the lives of women everywhere.
I said, you're forgetting one part. When you said lean in at first, I thought it was this, Joe Wicks, the guy who does the Lean in 15, this exercise instructor, and he does like this. So, I thought you were talking about this diet.
Are you talking about this diet book called Lean in 15? And Nana said that as well. She was like, oh, lean in 15? I was like, no, guys, lean in. But it was so funny. But it speaks to our friendship where they're very like about like weight loss and those are the type of books that they will willingly read. But but it was so fascinating to me that they hadn't heard about it. And guess who had heard about it? Ugo, Nana's husband. He was like, how do you guys not know about Lean In? I'm not a woman and I know about it. But anyway, I feel like that helped, that conversation, even if it was funny and oh
gosh, that book actually helped me a lot, like I have to say, because obviously after having that conversation with you, I had to go and read the book.
I cannot be friends anymore if you don't read this book.
I agree. In fact, now I tell people that, the girls on my team, I made them read the book. And, I was telling them like, oh, I can't believe you haven't read this. If only they knew. But that book really helped me a lot because I used to hate speaking up. Even just little things like in meetings, you have an idea you want to bring up and I'm thinking, like, I'm overplaying it in my head. Like, oh, how does this sound? Are they going to like the idea? Are they going to think it's not a good idea? And while I'm overplaying everything in my head, somebody else brings up the idea, probably even just a fraction of what I was thinking. And then everyone loves it. And at that point, you now feel like, oh, I can't even add to this idea now because it kind of feels like, oh, you're now trying to like, leech on somebody else. So I was, for the longest time, like I will be quiet in public. And then maybe like after the meeting or before the meeting sometimes, I will go to my boss and I'll start like spilling ideas, So when it's a small group and it's people that I'm comfortable with, like I would speak up, I would, give ideas and all that. But then in the larger meeting, there was that fear of just somebody saying, what's she talking about?
Yes. And it's so important what you're saying, because as women, we have to own our brilliance. We have to own the fact that we create value every day. We're smart, and stop second guessing ourselves. I think the bigger issue for me is even being so quiet and not wanting to speak up in meetings to the point that you allow other people to take credit for your ideas. So that's
what I used to do. Like I would basically go and give somebody my idea so that they could say it out. And so before the meeting, I know that this is what we're going to discuss. I would go to somebody who I know talks or whatever, and I would say, oh, what, I'm trying to sound it off them. What do you think of this? Like, if we did this, if we did this, if we did that. And then they would say, oh, yeah, I thought that. I think that's good. And then we get into the meeting and it's almost like they're giving you the chance to talk, and then you don't talk, then it's getting to the end of the meeting. And then the person that I gave my idea would say it, and, everyone would like the idea. And it kind of feels like, well, that was my idea. But then at that point, you don't want to raise your hand and say, no, that was my idea. So I had to, teach myself to be able to speak up. I had to, every time I'll tell myself in my head, what's the worst that can happen? Maybe even it's a rubbish idea, they'll still get over it. Do you understand? So I had to just keep telling myself that, look, you've put in this work, you know this work, you've been in this industry. It's not like, it's a different case if you enter a meeting unprepared, but you've prepared for this. So how bad can it possibly be? Do you understand? So I had to give myself that talk after reading that book. And it really changed things a lot for me, because I think also as women, we do not understand the power of visibility, of being out there. We are comfortable with just sort of being in the background, we're comfortable with just, lending that support.
And it's like the mindset is do the work. If I just do the work, then I will get
somebody would notice me and reward me for it. Sometimes, they say like I put an idea forward. It's not necessarily an idea for my team to execute. It's maybe one of the technical teams that needs to execute it. And then obviously they hand it over to them. But I will go to the manager after and be like, oh, actually, I would like to join them on this. Yes, I know it's not, but yes, I would like to be in the meetings. I'd like to, monitor the progress and see how things are going. And I mean, no one ever really says no to extra help. Do you understand? So I learned a lot like that from like with other departments. So sometimes like so I deal a lot with government bodies, NNPC, DPR, and I'm talking to different people. I'm talking to one, and like, oh, are you an engineer? Oh, sorry, no, I'm not. I'm talking to another one. Hey, are you a lawyer? So, you're talking to a lawyer, and then they're asking you, are you a lawyer? You're talking to an engineer. Because I put in the effort to work with other departments to see, because you can't really work in silos. Every team, you need each other, more or less. And I found that another one of the challenges when I got into oil and gas, there was this whole, I don't know if it was just in my head, but there was this whole, the technical people, the engineers, it kind of felt like, oh, we're the engineers, we're the technical ones. When you start questioning them, that's how they end the the questioning session. They're just like, hey, you won't understand it. No, it's English. It's not English they used to teach you this thing in school. It's English. Explain it to me. I would understand it. So you find that you need to understand each part of the business for you to be able to function properly, for you to be able to give the company your best. When I start my year, I sit down with my team and we look at the company goals, like the company-wide goals, not just for our department, but the company-wide goals. And it's like, okay, this is what we do. How do we help the company to achieve these goals? Whether it's a goal in increasing production. Yes, increasing production is meant to be for the technical team, but there are things that we can do that would help the technical team to achieve that goal. So we work from the top down to the bottom. So when you're able to show the value that you've added to the bottom line, and that's another thing that we don't do also, we don't document our wins, or you might even document it, but the way you say it, you don't add the facts and the figures, I'll give you an example. There was a time that the Focados terminal was down for a very long time. We were not able to lift our crude, so no cash coming in, and we needed cash. Now, for me, I believe in, relationship building. I have a lot of like very, strong relationships with the people that I work with. Yes. So I spoke to somebody in, one of the parastatals, and was like, okay, Focados is down. Can we lift somewhere else? Can we do like a swap? I'm trying not to go too much into detail, but basically I solved a problem by talking to somebody, and we were able to do a crude swap and lift from somewhere else. And that brought in cash inflow that we would not have had ordinarily.
Yeah.
And then so I was doing my appraisal that year, and I think in my appraisal, what did I write? I think I wrote like, negotiated a crude swap to enable us lift or something. And like the way I couched it, and our manager called me and she was like, I don't think you realize what you did, because the way you're writing it, inside here, like it sounds like you did nothing. So to you, it might not have taken a lot of effort from you, but the results. So it's not until you've, bashed your head against the wall and you've carried cement on your head and walked all around the place. The result is what speaks. Yeah. And the result was monumental, but you've written it here like...
Never downplay your genius. Just because it comes easy to you doesn't mean that it's easy for other people. You make it look easy, doesn't mean that it's easy.
Exactly. So those were the things that I had to start learning how to do. Like, okay, so I did this. How did it affect the bottom line? In cents and dollars, what did this bring to the company? So I started documenting my wins like that. So this is how much I was able to bring in by doing this. This is how much I was able to save the company by doing this. And when you take those kind of facts and figures to anybody, like it's undisputed, it's there, it's in black and white, it's in cents and dollars. Yes, nobody can really argue with that. And I feel like that is the best way to be able to negotiate your promotions.
I love it. Okay, so we've spoken a little bit about your challenges building a career in the oil and gas industry, but I want to talk about something that is slightly controversial. This idea that when a woman gets to a certain point in her career and like she's now like a mover and a shaker, all of a sudden there are rumors and questions about how did she get there? She must have slept with her boss, or she must have slept her way to the top. How do you deal with, you know, your value being sexualized?
Yeah, this is quite controversial, but yes, it is something that is so prevalent in our society. So I guess it does need to be talked about. First of all, I mean, nobody's going to like that, right? Nobody would like having their values questioned. You've worked hard. I mean, I know, not just I say, you know how much work.
It makes me laugh. Like, you see someone who misses family obligations, misses her friends, you know, getaways or birthdays and stuff because they've had to work hard. And then years later, when they're finally reaping...
I mean, I missed your bridal shower that I planned. I planned the entire thing, and I was the only one that couldn't make it because of work. So it is painful. I'm not even going to lie. But at the same time, I had someone tell me that it's only empty trees that they don't throw stones at. So if there's a fruit-bearing tree, people throw stones at it. So at least it kind of gives you some sort of warped validation that you are doing something right. You know, you are in the right direction. I mean, if people are starting to question why you are where you are, so, you know, you must be doing something right. But it's really, really unfortunate. And it's mostly from other women. But I find it a lazy, as in it's a lazy excuse, as opposed to trying to figure out how this person got to where they are. What can I do to get there? Or, you know, just, you know, thinking a bit more. You just come up with the laziest answer, which is she must have slept her way to the top. That is a very...
It's so interesting that you say that, right? Because sometimes women uphold the patriarchy in stronger ways than men. So
not sometimes, most times.
It's quite sad, you know, that is something that anyone has to deal with. So,
you know, I mean, like women, we really need to get out of our own way. We talk a lot about gender discrimination, you know, women not getting equal opportunities, you know, women not, you know, being present in the C-suite. But I find that in many cases, it's women holding women down. You know, a woman would get to a certain level and then wouldn't advocate for other women. It's almost like you feel like there's only space for one woman at the top. And if another woman comes into the top, you know, they kind of question, you know, it's like competition as opposed to, you know, there's room for all of us up here. It's almost like they feel like they are just the, you know, token female and I am that one and there's no room for any other one here. And or sometimes it's more or less like, oh, you know, do you know what I went through when I was, you know, a supervisor? Do you know what I had to do when I was pregnant? I did this and I did that. It's like, yes, you struggled, but are you not supposed to be making the struggles easier for other people? Now that you're in the position to make it easier, shouldn't you be making it easier? Why do you feel like this pain, rites of passage?
It's because they operate within the confines of the very limited world that they understand, right? So they tend to vilify those who seek to expand their thinking. And it's often like from a place of insecurity and fear of like the new world. So it's like, I suffered, so you must suffer. Or
you must suffer too.
Or, this person is ahead, and the reason that they're ahead must be because they must have slept their way to the top, or they must have done something dodgy. But what we don't realize is that, yeah, it's not that there are not women who do dodgy things to get to the top, right? But when we think like that, right, we're limiting our own selves. So you're saying that I can never
Mm-hmm.
go as
Mm-hmm.
high as Maria because I believe that Maria must have done something.
The only way to do it is to sleep.
So you're limiting your own abilities, your own trajectory, because you can only see as far as the limits that you've imposed on yourself.
Honestly, and I mean, like, it's really small-minded thinking, because when you even think of it, like, these men that you're saying that, oh, women are sleeping with to get to the top, they are running profitable businesses.
Yeah.
Why would they want to put you at the helm of their business because, oh, they're sleeping with you and you don't have anything to offer? Like, really, are they trying to bring their businesses down?
They're not stupid. They're not going to put incompetent people in high.
Exactly. They didn't make it to where they are by being stupid.
This is facts. So I want to move now to the personal finance question. And this is fascinating to me because I feel like we live in an era where people are like, oh, the only way to build wealth is to become an entrepreneur, right? But I feel like there's a strong case to be made for being an intrapreneur, being entrepreneurial in your thinking, like everything you've said so far in this interview, like problem solving where you are, not necessarily running, the business by yourself. So, personal finance questions. What did you do with your first paycheck, Maria? Don't lie, because I know.
I said, really?
Yeah.
Well, my first paycheck. So I did pay tithes. I did. Mm-hmm. I paid my tithe. I gave my mom a bit of it, and the rest, more. I blew. But that's the thing. Like, in my head, when you're expecting this money and it sounds like big money, and you're like, yes, when it comes, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But I think that my first paycheck made me realize that this money is never enough.
Yeah.
Like, if you do not plan for it and stick to your plan, the money will plan you.
So what would you say that your investment strategy is? How do you decide what you want to invest in and how you're going to invest?
So first of all, diversification is key for me. I always feel like I need to have, different streams of income, and it cannot be all in like one industry or all in like one sort of business, because the economy, the cycles are up and down, so you want to invest in something that, if one cycle is down, then one part, of the cycle is down, then your other investments are doing better. So for me, diversification is really key. I try to spread out my investments, and I do take more of a top-down approach to investing. I don't go around like hawking my savings, like, okay, what can I do with 500K or what can I do with 200K? I do, first of all, I feel it's so important for people to research into whatever it is you want to invest in. It's not, just because it's the buzz investment in town, doesn't mean it's going to be right for you and your goals,
Yeah.
So no matter how interesting something sounds, if I haven't done the research for me to understand it and be comfortable with it and see how it fits into my goals, which is making sure that, it's diverse and all of that, I would not do it. I'd like to take my time and research. So I research into, different investment options, and then find the one that I want, and then save. If I don't have enough money for that, then I save towards that. As opposed to, okay, this is what I have, and, okay, what can I
do with
Which,
it?
I'm not saying that that's a bad way to go about it, but I don't know, that just doesn't.
So basically, think about what your goals are, and then you find investment vehicles that match those goals.
Exactly.
Correct. So what has been your?
And I'm also like also a bit of a bargain hunter as well. So I like to look into it could be stocks, it could be businesses. Like, so you see like a startup business, like I see like maybe one of my friends investing in a business or trying to expand the business, and you know that this business, you can see the future of this business. Like, you need some cash. You know,
can I borrow you money? Can I invest?
So I invest in things that, when the prices are still down, when you can still get it before they become bigger. Same thing with like stocks. Sometimes you, recently we had this conversation now, like during like the COVID period. Some of the stocks that were, some of the stocks that were down.
What stocks should I buy? What stocks?
And I made a killing on that. Like, thank you.
No, but that was actually quite fascinating though, because obviously during COVID, it was very clear that there was a big opportunity there. So there were lots of stocks that the prices like reduced drastically. So GTB, for example, went from like 24 naira to like 16 naira at one point. MTN, they were
Nigerian breweries.
And we had this conversation. Mariah was like, hey, so should I buy stocks now? Is it a good idea? Which ones should I buy? And I was like, listen, and I like to give all my friends disclaimers. I will say, listen, these are the ones that I like, and this is why I think that you should put your money here. But I'm not a stockbroker. And I am not a fortune teller.
And having said that, even like after you told me all of that, I still did the research. I still went. So the stocks that you told me about, I went to go and look at like the stock history, the price history. So what was the highest price? What was the average price before now? So I still did like my own research as well as the information that I got from you. Before I decided on which of them to invest in. I cannot emphasize how important it is to research and understand for yourself what it is that you want. And then of course also like property investment. For me, I feel like it's important to have something that is stable, something that brings a stable source of income. And then that way you can now use the proceeds from, so like you have properties, use the proceeds from your rents to now invest in maybe riskier options, but at least you know that you have something stable. So for me, it's very important first for me to have that like baseline investment, like a set of safe-ish options, and then now use the proceeds from that for some
So I love this investment strategy. So guys, what Mariah is saying is she likes to put her money, she likes to diversify her assets, but she also likes to put her money in things that are fairly stable and then use the dividend yield or the rental income from those assets to basically invest in riskier things. So the rental income from your property, instead of spending it, you use it to buy stock. I feel like this is brilliant, and I feel like a lot of people can learn from this. What would you say that your most profitable investment has been?
Funny enough, I think it would have to be land and stocks actually.
Because of the capital appreciation.
Definitely because of that.
So you buy low.
You buy land. Towards like the Lekki axis, further down, and that Lagos is expanding fast. People are moving into the Lekki axis. So there was one that I bought. Kevin and I got on what 6 million, and then just how many years down the line, they're coming to beg you with 25 million for it, and it's like maybe I'll still wait a little while, But yeah, definitely land.
So okay, next question. What skills, right, would you say that you've had to build to become a successful entrepreneur?
I said this one is easy. Networking, relationship building. Like, there is nothing like it. I don't care what industry you're in. I don't care what business you're like. You need to build relationships. You need to network with people. And it's not just going for a conference or going somewhere and then meeting somebody and exchanging cards and saying, "Oh, I admire you." Like, people can sense when you're being genuine, when you take a genuine interest in them or in what it is that they do, and they respond better to that. And the thing is that it is work. It is work. It's not easy, for lack of a better word. It's not easy to do, but you have to put in the work and build those relationships, because it is why somebody would go out of their way for you. It is why somebody will, think of you when something happens or when there's an opportunity, and it is why you will come into their head. It's not because they met you in one conference. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's that relationship that you've built with them, what you've invested in that relationship. Like I said, it's critical to any industry. It's critical to any career. I can't overemphasize.
I love it, because this is what, many people will say you have to have connection. You have to have connection, right? But, in anything that you're doing, right, you're a salesperson, but you need quality access. So I feel like you earn more, the better your access is to capital, to, new opportunities, to new markets. And it all boils down to knowing the right people and having people within your network that would actually move mountains for you, so they can help you solve problems or take advantage of, new opportunities. But yeah, and I think it's so interesting, because I know all the time when you're always traveling to Abuja, going to like meet with different stakeholders, like over the years you've built, quality relationships. People see you do the work, so it becomes easier for you to solve problems for your company. I love it. So, what has been your biggest money mistake or money failure?
I say, can we skip this one?
Why?
Actually, I'm not even sure that I told you about this. Actually, did I? No, I never remember these things. Because,
tell me.
I say.
Confess. Mariah, did you do MMM?
Yes.
Wow.
I said, wait. Let me explain myself. Wait. Hang on. First of all, I was a lot younger. Secondly, that's the thing. Yeah. It's not like I didn't know that. I think this is a pyramid scam. Do you understand? I know what a pyramid.
Yeah.
I know what a pyramid scam is. But like I knew like person A, person B that had cashed out. You're just like, you know what? Maybe I should just, cash out quickly before the whole thing starts.
You know what? Let me even talk about this a bit. So for me, with the MMM thing, right? Like I know one of our other friends as well. I think that one was like Swiss Golden, right? And my own thing is, I was like, first of all, acknowledge that this is not an investment, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that if you're a risk taker, if you're someone who knows that, okay, risk is basically betting on a future outcome, and that outcome can be good or it can be bad. I know this thing is a scam, but let me scam the scammers. Because I even know investment bankers who took the risk. They were like, yeah, I can afford to play with 10 million. I'm going to put it in and get my money out quickly. But, it worked for some people. It didn't work for some people. I think
and some people got greedy, like I did. The first one I put in, it actually worked. It actually worked. And I was like, okay, let me just do this second time. Then I'll just cash out and I won't look back. It was that second time that it now hooked.
But these things happen. I think the mistake is when people think that it is an investment and they're, making their long-term plans based on something it doesn't make any sense. But, we live and we learn, and it's okay to take risk. The thing about, being a risk taker is sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and you don't cry about it.
Yes. And I mean, when you're taking, like, which goes back to, using investments from a safer option to take this risk. You don't want to use your
Mm,
life savings to take
amazing.
this sort of risk, like this is all you have, and you now decide that you want to put it in a Ponzi scam. Like, no, you have to take calculated risk.
So, what was your first childhood memory of money?
So I went from thinking, as a child, money is abundant. I mean, I pretty much had everything I wanted as a child. I was the last born. My mom was pretty well off. Everything was available, without, thinking too much. But I think that when I realized, like, my memory of money, of like having to like make money, or knowing that I needed to make money, was probably after we like moved to after secondary school, when we moved to London. And I wanted certain Dion shoe and bag, certain things that my mom just felt like, what are you talking about? Who has time for these things? It was like, and then you remember I've been next to braid hair and all of that.
Oh my God.
And the day I realized that I could, I think it was one of my sister's friends, Auntie Joe's friend, who asked if I could braid her daughter's hair and that she was going to pay me. I was like, hey, you pay me. And then I braided the hair. I think I got like £40 or something. I was like, really? So that was like, okay, so I could actually monetize my skill and get these things that I mean, then it came from a place of vanity. It wasn't like I was trying to invest in anything. All I was thinking about was shoe and bag.
I found a picture of me, you, and Nana going to carnival after party, and it is so ridiculous. Like we have the same bag and the same shoes. Like we're all wearing this exact same bag and the exact same shoes. So, and I remember us saving towards these Dune bags and Dune shoes because we wanted to rock it for carnival after party. But something about you monetizing your skill with hair braiding. It wasn't like you just started braiding hair when we got to London. To be fair, you had been winning competitions when we were in Igbinedion.
Yeah, but I wasn't monetizing it. That's
I were, oh, guys,
people were just bullying me, using my skills for.
I never paid for my hair when I was in London. Mariah used to fix all my weaves, do all my braids. Yeah, I was a lucky girl. And it was weird because you and Nana were both hair braiders or hair people. So that was a blessing to me. But yeah, like that's amazing. When you get to London and you realize that you are now an adult somewhat and you have to start earning.
I didn't like it.
Figuring out how you're going to earn money. So fascinating. Good times. So I know the answer to this question I'm about to ask, but let me just ask it for the audience. When it comes to spending, what are your guilty pleasures?
Well, so shoes, bags, gold. I don't know that they saw for me with gold. Holidays. Well, the funny thing is that even in my guilty pleasures, like the frivolous part of my life, there's still a bit of an, investment angle to it, like, so like I said, I like jewelry, so I buy gold. Gold is more or less an investment. I remember when I started buying gold was what, like $40 a gram, thereabouts. Now gold is $70 per gram. Do you understand? Like, so it appreciates like over time. And then even for bags, I try to, so if I'm going to spend over a certain amount of money, if I'm going to bring out the big cash, it has to be a classic. It has to be something that will appreciate over time. I mean, I bought a Lady Dior at the airport. When was this? Was this 2011? For £1,600, and I sold it was it 2 or 3 years ago? It was still in excellent condition, still in very, very good condition. I sold it for like 2,700 thereabout. You know, because the bag has, I mean, in the stores now, the bag is like 4,000 pounds or so, 4,500 thereabout. So I still like to
find a way to
yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you know, so I wouldn't spend a certain amount on a bag that's not a classic bag. Not because I'm thinking I want to sell it tomorrow, but you know, just you never can tell you to buy something else. But yeah, so shoes, bags, holidays, and gold.
So it's so interesting, right? So when we were growing up, your mom, you know, was a single mother, and there were 7 kids?
9.
9
about.
I forget who I forgot, but yeah, there were 9 kids, and she basically looked after them by herself. And everyone
and cousins, they were also cousins. Remember I had like my cousins in the house, and
like everyone was in
now.
England. Everyone had like a high sort of, I want to say, luxury education. You know, like, so it wasn't cheap. Like, school fees wasn't cheap. The kind of life that she provided for you, like with 9 kids, wasn't cheap. And I remember thinking, it's so interesting that, you know, both my parents are together and there's 4 kids, and I know how difficult it is, like, to pay school fees, to do all of that. And I never understood how, like, a woman, you know, could look after 9 children and give them that quality of life. But we saw her work so hard, like break her back. And she always was doing one business or the other, or she had one property that she was, you know, collecting rent from, another one that she was selling. You know, she was always doing, you know, many things. And now I'm in my 30s, I'm a single mother with 1 child, and that is, you know, still backbreaking. And I often go back and think about the fact that, wow, mommy did this, right? Like by herself, like, and it was tough. How do you think that sort of like informed like the way that you thought about money and the money conversations that you sort of like had to have with your husband before you got married?
First of all, you don't ask me whether I had money conversations with my husband before I got married.
Did you?
No, I didn't. I actually didn't. I know, right? You would think that I would know better. But no, I more or less had this idea in my head of how it should be. I mean, like, I grew up watching my mom do everything, and I just felt like when I get married, no, my husband is going to do everything. I had that feeling like, or the thought I had was, it's not that of course I'm going to make money, but you know, this whole, my money is my money, your money is our money. I could pick up a bill here and there if I feel like it, not because I'm responsible for it. You know, those are the kind of ideas that I had in my head. And for whatever reason, we never really discussed it before getting married. Then after we got married, my husband, I can't remember how it came up, but he was like, so which bill am I going to be taking care of? He was like, he doesn't care how small it is, but basically he feels like I should, yes, he feels like I should have something that, you know, this is my responsibility. And I'm looking at him like, okay, what are you talking about? Like, I'm here to be taken care of.
I relax. But Kevin was always that man who loved the fact that his wife had like a high paying job, and, you know, was like a high flyer.
Yeah, and
he wasn't looking
my career.
for his wife. Like, he wasn't looking for a housewife. He was looking for a partnership.
Exactly, that is the word. And in that also, like, Kevin was also very open about, his finances. Like, this is what I have, these are my investments. This is what they generate. This is what, and he would be so open about it and leave me to plan it. It's like, okay, so this is what we have for the family. So you plan it. And I wasn't, again, my mom, single mom, she has this whole, don't let everybody know all that you have, or that kind of like, keep some certain things. So I wasn't the most open person about my finances initially. And I found that, Kevin did not like that because he was the exact opposite. He was so open about everything. And I wasn't. So we had to talk and basically come to a middle ground. Yes, I definitely had to make some adjustments on being open about my finances. And yes, I eventually did pick some bills. But yeah, so it was a conversation that we had to have. We had it after getting married, and thankfully we were able to solve it, because money is such a critical thing in marriage. I don't care what people say, oh, married for love. Yes, you marry for love, that's not it. But money can break a marriage if you're not. It's key for you to know each other's risk appetites, each other's ideology on how finances are run, who pays for what, joint account or no joint account. And for those that are living in the UK, credit history. I remember Arese telling me that my sister and her hubby, they were laughing so hard one day, and they were talking about how all hell almost broke loose when her husband found out how much debt she had racked up before marriage, like her credit card bills were skyrocket, and the truth came out when they wanted to purchase their first property in the UK. So obviously the banks will go into the credit history, and they're just like, we can't give this one loan. Look at it. So basically, she had to go and restructure her finances. So at that point, she had to sit down and have that conversation with her husband. Okay, so yeah, these are the debts that I brought to the these are the debts that I brought to the marriage. And yeah, so obviously, thank God they were able to sort everything out, But that kind of thing can break marriage.
So it's definitely important to have these conversations. So I love these real life practical sorts of examples, because I feel like a lot of young girls who have not been married yet can learn from. I'm obsessed. Awele is going to kill you, by the way, but okay. So if you won,
I know. I hope she doesn't. We'll make her skip this podcast.
If you won the lottery and you won $1 million, what would you splurge on, and what would you invest in?
I said, I've spent this money finished. 1 million, it's not even enough. But yeah, so yeah, let me take you on this spending spree with me. To start with, we'll secure some foreign exchange earnings, because the way this Naira exchange rate is set up vis-a-vis my taste for international living, it'll be wise to take off some pressure from my Naira earnings. So I would invest 500,000, take 500,000 and get 2 buy-to-let mortgages in the UK. In one of those up and coming swanky areas. So I could get some, so I could get some international income, so forex income, not this 650 naira to £1 kind of thing. So then next, I will probably employ the services of a qualified investment manager, and acquire a $200,000 investment portfolio in the US stock market. The US stock market is something that I have been wanting to get into, but like I said, I believe in research, and I feel like I'm not yet there. Do you understand? I feel like I need to understand it a bit more. But when the cash is plenty, we'll get investment manager to go and understand those things. Do you understand? So so $200,000 in an investment portfolio, international investment portfolio, and then that's enough for investing. Because I cannot come and die.
So what will you splurge on?
All these things. Yeah. So as you know, I like to travel. So we'll put aside 100K for vacations, I do one with my husband and my daughter, do one with you all, do one with the girls,
That I was waiting for you to not say that you were going to plan a luxury vacation with us. Like first, I was just waiting for you to say that so that I can cancel you for the rest of 2021.
It's definitely a vacation. So I'm thinking one of those like island hopping, the cruise. Because I can't believe I still haven't done the cruise. Like, who am I? Why?
I feel like you've been trying to get us to go on a cruise since we were in university.
Yes, I have been. At this time that I'll be paying for it, you have no choice. You would have to come. So we'll do a cruise, and then I would send my mom and her bestie on a pilgrimage trip to Israel. She's been wanting to. She's done that a couple of times, but she and her best friend and Stella, they can go. And that woman, I'm not giving her any money. If you give her money, she'll just spend it on her grandchildren. She'll use it to buy things. She used it to buy things for her 22 grandchildren. So the trip, maybe buy her jewelry or something nice, Then 100K his and hers Patek Philippe for me and Mr. Luciano, because the guy has been the most supporting husband, most supportive of my career, and he loves the brand, so we'll spoil him small. Then it was remaining 100K now, yeah, okay. So 50K on a charity project to empower the girl child, because really the future is female and we need to own it. We need to own this. And the other 50K, we'll buy Birkin, we'll buy Kelly, we'll buy gold. I can see you rolling your eyes that they don't talk about any rainy fund. There's no emergency, they finish, Arese. So leave emergency first.
Girl, you know that. I'm here for balanced spending. Like, I don't judge my friends for, spending on luxury stuff. I'm here for balanced spending. Like, as long as we're splurging and investing so that our long term, can be brighter, I'm here for all of it.
Well, with these few points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince the universe and not to confuse it to send me £1 million. Well, pounds would be better. But dollars I'll take.
I love it. I think that people are going to really enjoy this interview. I just want to use this opportunity to say thank you, because Mariah has been such a blessing in my journey. I'm lucky to have such an amazing woman as a part of my tribe and to have known her for so many years. We've gone through different ups and downs. We've made money together. We've lost money together. We've been each other's support system, and my life would be a lot less interesting without Mariah. But yeah, thank you so much for gracing us with this interview, and
thank you for having me.
Good luck with everything. I'll call you shortly.
All right, darling. Love you, Mucho.
Love you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Smart Money Tribe podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm super excited about creating financial content for African Millennial women who want to live a fabulous life, but also want to learn how to find the balance between spending on their lifestyle needs and building assets that could protect their financial futures.